You open your eyes one morning and feel the weight of routine pressing down. The dreams that once sparked fire in your heart have faded to distant echoes. The mirror reveals someone who traded passion for security, purpose for predictability, a life measured in obligations rather than possibilities. There's an unspoken heaviness growing within you, a voice that whispers, "This isn't the path you were meant to walk." But you silence it because it's easier to distract, to comply, to nod at conversations you've stopped hearing, to endure another day trapped in a life that feels borrowed rather than owned. Seneca once wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a great deal of it." Most people never grasp this truth. They move through existence as though immortal, as though opportunities will always return, as though dreams can be indefinitely postponed, as though tomorrow will forgive today's absence from your own story. You weren't taught to truly live. You were taught to conform, to follow maps drawn by others' expectations, to exchange wonder for certainty, to sacrifice authenticity at the altar of acceptance. You were taught to mistake breathing for being alive. But then something shifts. Something cracks the facade. Perhaps it's witnessing someone's final moments. Perhaps it's betrayal that severs you from who you thought you were. Perhaps it's simply waking up one day and not recognizing the stranger you've become. Whatever it is, it dissolves the illusion. And suddenly, you see with devastating clarity. You don't have countless tomorrows. You have this moment. You have the breath filling your lungs right now. You have this fragile, fleeting, irreplaceable chance to exist fully before everything you are and everything you love disappears into memory. And in that recognition, something profound awakens. You're no longer afraid of failing. You're terrified of never having tried. You stop requesting permission to become yourself. You stop apologizing for wanting depth. You stop performing for approval that will evaporate once you're gone. You understand that salvation isn't coming. No perfect moment awaits. No final warning will sound. This, right now, is your life unfolding, whether you choose to claim it or not. Marcus Aurelius believed we should live each day as if it were our entire life. Every decision, every interaction, every moment of attention, all precious because all are limited. If you were forced to relive today eternally, would you weep in despair or whisper in gratitude? The beautiful terror of existence is that it demands your presence without offering guarantees. No guarantee of fulfillment, no guarantee of belonging, no guarantee of redemption, only the certainty of an ending. Yet most will spend more energy avoiding discomfort than creating meaning. You don't have to be among them. Your awakening doesn't begin with external change. It begins with internal revolution, the moment you truly comprehend that this is your only life. And that realization burns so deeply into your consciousness that you cannot return to sleepwalking. You begin to live deliberately, fiercely, gratefully. You start declining what diminishes you. You start embracing what expands you. You begin to love without reservation, to forgive without conditions, to create without seeking approval. You stop waiting for permission. You understand that your existence itself is the only permission required. That consciousness was the miracle you've been searching for. And in that profound realization that time is both your most precious and most fleeting possession, you are reborn. Not as someone new, but as someone finally authentic. This awakening doesn't erase your wounds. It honors them. It acknowledges their lessons and then releases their grip, because you cannot move forward while clinging to what needs to be laid to rest. You must allow the past its burial and step forward, scarred, imperfect, unfinished, but finally present. Because regardless of how much future remains, the only life of consequence is the one you choose to inhabit now. You're told to dream boldly, yet you're quietly penalized the moment your aspirations disturb others' comfort. You're told possibilities are boundless, but when you pursue them, you're questioned, doubted, dismissed. Society celebrates dreamers only when their dreams remain harmless, distant, and contained. Kierkegaard recognized this paradox clearly. He saw that communities aren't structured to nurture greatness, but to manufacture conformity. The person who has found their why can bear almost any how, wrote Viktor Frankl. But what remains unspoken is even more profound. Most never discover their why. They live and die buried beneath everyone else's instructions. You enter existence already enmeshed in expectations. Learn, work, acquire, reproduce, consume, comply. The blueprint is presented before you've developed your own voice, and before awareness dawns, you've constructed a life you secretly resent. A life designed to please those who will never share its consequences. You aren't living, you're performing. Every compromise, every sacrifice, every abandoned passion made not for yourself, but for an imaginary audience you believe is scrutinizing your every move. You remain in work that hollows your spirit. You persist in connections that deplete your energy. You betray your own curiosity, your own vision, your own potential, all because someone somewhere might disapprove. Yet those whose judgment imprisons you will not attend your funeral wondering why you weren't happier. They will barely remember what mattered to you. Thoreau believed that to live authentically requires willingness to stand apart, to chart your course even when it means traveling alone. Because genuine expression demands independence. Authenticity requires courage. The tragedy isn't mortality. The tragedy is reaching death without having truly lived. You feel it everywhere around you. The quiet desperation, the unspoken regret, the way people laugh too eagerly at jokes that bring no joy, the way they celebrate promotions that cost them their peace, the way they anticipate vacations like prisoners awaiting temporary release before returning to confinement they've chosen. This is what philosophers call the collective trance, the unconscious survival of those who fear the responsibility of determining their own existence. It's safer to be accepted than to be free. It's easier to be praised for compliance than challenged for authenticity. But the price is immeasurable. A self that betrays its essence to belong will disintegrate from within. You can decorate your constraints. You can call them practical. You can pretend limitations are protections. But confinement remains confinement. Freedom isn't comfortable. Freedom isn't predictable. Freedom demands complete responsibility for your own existence. And that terrifies most people into perpetual slumber. They tell themselves, the timing isn't right. Perhaps next season. I'll pursue what matters after securing what doesn't. I'll start living once obligations end. But time makes no concessions. It doesn't pause. It doesn't offer extensions. It disregards justifications. The day you recognize you have only one life is the day you either awaken or remain unconscious until regret consumes you. Philosophers warn that if you don't confront mortality intentionally, it will confront you through remorse. And remorse isn't a clean wound. It infects. It spreads. It poisons every recollection of what might have been. You may believe postponement is harmless, but examine closer. How many years have already dissolved without presence? How many days have passed on autopilot, following convention, never questioning if it aligned with your deepest truth? You don't lose your life suddenly. You lose it through countless small surrenders. A moment here, a compromise there, a passion abandoned until it fades into the shadow of what could have been. Philosophy doesn't offer comfortable reassurance. It offers awakening. Not to flatter you, but to shock you into presence. Because discomfort precedes consciousness. You weren't designed for comfort. You weren't created for safety. You were meant to burn with purpose, with vision, with a life so genuinely yours that living by others' definitions becomes unthinkable. And yet the question remains, what will you do with this awareness? Now that truth has found you, the inescapable, undeniable truth that your time is finite and diminishing. Will you retreat into numbness? Will you rationalize inaction? Will you apologize for demanding more? Or will you begin your awakened life, the existence you were meant to embody before fear rewrote your story? The choice isn't theoretical, it's immediate. Every moment of hesitation is a moment surrendered to unconsciousness. Every instant waiting for validation is an instant your spirit diminishes. There will never be perfect circumstances. There will never be an ideal situation. There will never be certainty against failure. There will only ever be now. And now requires your courage. You don't suddenly find yourself drowning in regret. It doesn't arrive like lightning. It seeps like gradual frost. An opportunity declined here, a someday there, a conversation you were too afraid to initiate, a passion you were too exhausted to pursue. Initially, it seems harmless. Life appears unchanged. Responsibilities continue. Celebrations occur. Plans proceed. But beneath appearances, something decays. Your smile reaches your lips, but not your eyes. You feel emptier even surrounded by others. You wake bearing an inexplicable heaviness. This isn't despair. It isn't sadness. It's the gradual extinction of potential unfulfilled. Regret doesn't announce itself loudly. It doesn't shout. It whispers. In quiet moments when distractions fade, it whispers, "You could have been more." And you try to silence it with noise, endless scrolling, excessive consumption, overwork. But regardless of volume, the whisper grows. Because regret isn't about actions taken, it's about courage withheld. Philosophers understood regret as self-betrayal, the growing realization that you've squandered the only miracle ever granted, the miracle of consciousness. You won't regret attempts that failed. You won't regret risks that ended in disappointment. You will regret the silence, the hesitation, the hours spent doubting when you should have been creating. You will regret the self you abandoned while pretending time was abundant. Look around. How many walk through life already spiritually deceased, though physically present? They exist in patterns they detest. They participate in rituals devoid of meaning. They acknowledge milestones that hold no significance. They breathe biologically, but spiritually have ceased. And you sense it in their presence. The heaviness, the invisible sorrow, the desperate attempts to distract from the quiet horror of their own unlived potential. This is precisely what philosophy warns against. Not physical death, not suffering, but existence so disconnected from authenticity that it no longer feels genuine. Every day you delay becoming who you're meant to be, you feed that emptiness further. You surrender another fragment of yourself to comfort, to fear, to mediocrity. And the tragedy is most will never realize what they've forfeited until recovery is impossible. Because society teaches measurement through externals, income, status, possessions. But none of these will comfort you when regret surrounds you at 3 a.m. None will silence the echo of unrealized possibility. Only one question will matter then. Did you live? Did you become what you were capable of becoming? Or did your spirit perish long before your body followed? You aren't afraid of death. You're afraid of dying without having lived. And that fear, if fully embraced, can become transformation. Because fear presents two paths, paralysis or awakening. Most allow fear to confine them to diminished lives. But you have alternative options. You can transform fear into fuel. Let it ignite you. Let it propel you into motion. Let it remind you that excuses are luxuries time won't permit. Philosophers believed existence belongs to the courageous. To those willing to face the unbearable truth of finitude and in that confrontation discover reason to live so intensely that death itself becomes secondary. So here you stand at the intersection between existing and living. You can return to unconsciousness. Numb yourself. Pretend time is unlimited. Pretend contentment is present. Or you can choose the discomfort of awakening. You can choose to feel the weight of unfulfilled potential pressing upon you. Not to destroy you, but to transform you into something unstoppable. You don't need more time. You need more courage. You don't need more motivation. You need more honesty. You don't need more years. You need to stop wasting those you have. Because the quiet dissolution, the gradual death of spirit through regret, is preventable, but only through a decision most never make: to live, not eventually, not when convenient, now. The end of your former existence arrives without ceremony. No one mourns it. No tears fall. No farewells are spoken. It dissolves silently when you realize that everything you pursued was never truly yours. It ends when you stop seeking approval from those who don't know themselves. It concludes when you cease apologizing for being complex, challenging, authentic. It finishes when you finally accept that your former self, the one who diminished to survive, has departed forever. And in that silence, transformation begins. Not into perfection, not into certainty, but into freedom. Your awakened life isn't about accomplishing more. It's about embodying what matters. It's not about being faster, wealthier, louder. It's about being truer. You will be misunderstood. You will face rejection. You will lose people you once considered essential. But you will discover yourself. And that exchange is worth making 1,000 times over. The world won't celebrate your authenticity. It may resent you because every step toward genuine expression reminds others of steps they were too fearful to take. You will disrupt comfort simply by existing authentically. Let them be uncomfortable. You aren't here to fit expectations. You aren't here to ease their remorse for remaining small. You are here to illuminate, to move through your time with an intensity that leaves no question that you were truly present. Philosophers believe the greatest failure isn't suffering. It's mediocrity. It's partial living, dreams half conceived, consciousness half awakened. Your transformed life demands your complete presence. The one who risks, the one who speaks truth even through uncertainty, the one who stands alone if necessary rather than conforming in company. Living authentically won't be simple. There will be moments of questioning everything, days when doubt overwhelms hope, times when unconsciousness seems easier. But remember this: discomfort passes. Regret endures. You can recover from the wounds of risk. You cannot recover from the ache of having never attempted. Every step toward your authentic life will challenge you. Not because you're mistaken, but because you're shedding the identity of an existence that was slowly extinguishing you. You will mourn your former self, the one who accepted less, the one who nurtured what couldn't grow, the one who apologized for brilliance. But you will emerge, not because you're fearless, but because you finally understand that fear isn't reason to stop. It's reason to begin. If you knew with certainty that 1 year remained, you would waste no further moment in hesitation. You would cease explaining your worth. You would refuse to diminish to accommodate. You would stop waiting for external permission to fully exist. You would live with immediacy, with appreciation, with relentless, unyielding wonder. You would cherish those who ignite your spirit. You would leave environments that made you forget yourself. You would pursue the dreams that terrify you because they're the only ones worth having. And you would never again waste a single heartbeat seeking validation. Your awakening begins not when circumstances change, not when others change, not when the world finally understands you. It begins when you change. When you decide completely, fiercely, finally that mere survival is insufficient, that mere existence is inadequate, that you are prepared to truly live, even without applause, even without companionship, even without understanding, because your former life served others. This one belongs to you. The question isn't whether fear will arise. It will. The question is whether you'll choose life regardless. Because if you don't, you'll spend your remaining days haunted by the specter of the life you might have lived. But if you do, if you choose to illuminate brightly, even momentarily, even if it costs everything familiar and secure, you will depart this world with nothing remaining inside but gratitude. Gratitude that you didn't leave this existence without revealing who you truly were. A final reflection for you watching. You have one life, One fleeting, extraordinary miracle. Stop rehearsing. Stop delaying. Stop surviving. Live now, here, without apology. Because your awakened life awaits, and it begins the moment you stop pretending time is infinite. Before you continue scrolling, ask yourself, if today were the only day guaranteed, would you still spend it performing? If this video awakened something within you, comment below, I'm ready to live authentically. Not tomorrow, not someday, today.